My name is Chris Holden. I'm the Director of Community Services with the City of Regina, and I brought the vision for Regina. So this is the City of Regina's vision. It was developed by City Council and senior management of the city, and it's really become a community vision. And the vision is that imagine Regina in 2020, Canada's most vibrant, inclusive, attractive, sustainable community where people live in harmony and thrive in opportunity.
My name is Jeff Lackney. I was here in last September, and so I already know this group is very creative.
Primary health care is the main reason I'm here, but I'm really loving the dynamics of the group and the diversities and the things that can happen, and it's very exciting.
But you cannot discover new oceans unless you have the courage to lose sight of shore. I think that's what we're trying to do. We're all trying to move beyond where we are today.
I have to thank my 4-year-old granddaughter because she asked if she could bring this in the car this morning on the way to daycare. And I think,
you stole it from her.
I did. And I think for me it represents some of the multiculturalism and what I hope will be a very inclusive facility for everybody. My granddaughter has Aboriginal roots, and we're very proud of that, and we want to make sure that as this project develops that we really have people in North Central who are also proud of all of the different nationalities and cultures that we'll see in this facility. So here's for celebrating.
Great sound.
But what I do bring with me, and I take it wherever I go, is a little bit of a sense of being a stakeholder in all of this process. Just like everyone else at this table, I live in this community, I was born and raised in this community, and I have a vested interest not just as a business person who's come back to live here and grow a business, but as a citizen, to see North Central thrive.
When Rob handed out the newspaper from North Central. The picture on the front is a picture taken by one of our students at Scott as part of a photojournalism project. I grew up in North Central. When I think about it, what we have to be doing is to make sure we realize and fulfill the abilities that are in front of us with those kids, the talents that are there.
My name is Chuck Sutberry with REACH, and I've been working for 11 years to get healthy and affordable food into North Central. And I'm quite excited that REACH can participate in a collaboration where we can help sustain not only the residents' bodies, but also their minds and spirits.
And what I have is what I wear all the time, and it's my Scott Collegiate ring. And, you know, I'm sitting here reflecting and realize that I have somehow been a part of this neighborhood for 45 years. Most of my life living in the neighborhood and now having the opportunity to work in this, what I believe is the most exciting neighborhood in Regina.
Here representing the Ministry of Education and the provincial government of this group. And our feeling was that if we got everybody to play together in the same sandbox, they would start thinking about the ways they could do business together. And this is really what it's all about. A lot of patience has got us to a point where this project has grown out of the community. The partners have come together. Their primary purpose has been to come together to do a different way of delivering programs and services. I bring a warm, really warm feeling for this particular neighborhood in Regina. My mother was the vice principal at Scott.
Something like an academy of, let's say, health, nutrition, care. And Scott isn't over here, but the kids are.
The slide that was up on the board that talked about, you know, this becomes a learning module about health. So we're going to do our curriculum, and the health district are going to provide nutrition, and it's going to be an integrated program.
We take them there, and they don't just go into a catch-up program of some sort, which they go, I'm not getting any credit for it, why am I sitting here?
You do meet some friends in the neighborhood if you work there. I can't see how you could not. You need to have positive events. There are going to be a few negative events, but we hope they have more positive than negative.
Module about health.
How do we see this working? Because I know we'll make it work. I know, but I know we also need to have a conversation just to say, okay, just what your expectations are they the same as ours? And do we see any problem?
We actually started off with the question, the red set of questions, number 4. What's the impact of a protected hard interior learning street plan versus an active edges plan. We began to talk about that, starting in the context of the weather here, and how, you know, you really don't want to be out on the edge because it's darn cold out there. We talked about the importance of involving the youth in building this facility, right, literally from building it, that would help them own it, that would help some of the current issues of today around maybe gang involvement or the vandalism that occurs. Our job today, I think, is to have the courage to really think, step out of today's problems, think about the future, think about 2020, design for that, implement to get to that stage, but without being weighed down by the current problems. So, you know, yes, there's crime and violence in the neighborhood, and we could build a facility that kind of protects everything because there's crime and violence in the neighborhood. But if we can build a facility in the right way, we can overcome that crime and violence. And that's what looking to the future, I think, really is meant to do for us.
Bringing people into the community, that true economic development occurs when not just the neighborhood uses that facility or any adjacent facility, but when people from all around Regina want to come into North Central to do business. And kids from all over the city and parents want their children to attend that school.
And whatever we do has to allow for the poverty to have dignity and to coexist. And if instead we gentrify, if instead we create prices in houses that these folks can't even begin to rent because of the cost, etc., they'll move somewhere else. They'll have no choice.
If we look at the other partners, we have students, but they're 19 to 50 or older. Okay, so if you think what the health district brings in, the library brings in, what we bring in, whatever, we'll triple the amount of students that are currently in high school now, but they will be moms, dads, cousins, grandmother, and they'll be all learning. So I don't want us to get hung up on a high school. I think it's an integrated learning facility, servicing a large need. So when you talk about that, then it becomes really different than a high school.
What is important is being inclusive of the whole community. And you know, it sounds really funny because I know I'm First Nations, but for me it's very important to include everybody else. It's not only a First Nations facility, that it would be for everybody. You know, and I think sometimes, since I've been in Regina, the focus has been a lot on First Nations. And I think that, you know, we have to bring everybody else along with that. It's not just First Nations.
A lot of people don't talk about racism, and I want to say that I've lived a lot of places in Canada, but this is the most racist place I've ever lived in. It's, and only because I think racism comes from ignorance, and I think that that's one thing that I see, I would say I see in Regina, that we really need to do more work on, is racism.
So then we start to talk about, in our development and in our discussions initially, we've talked about the community-based organizations. We hadn't really talked to the business sector. So it brought up the discussion about some of the urban reserves, some of the business development that the First Nations may be looking at on their urban reserves and not being in competition with them related to the business component of it.
So we got into this, and Rob shared some of the information about, you know, like in the summertime, when it's cash or check day, I mean, kids would actually show up in the park because it was safer than being home. So then you start thinking, well, maybe it's not such a bad idea to turn in, and you need some kind of a safe place. So I think by the time we were done, we weren't sure where we were. I think.
And then the talk was, how do we bring commercial in here? And one of the things that we haven't done as a neighborhood has had a visioning session on the physical plan, not like other neighborhood core that did a sustainability plan and said, what does our commercial district